You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
Welcome to another edition of Believe in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. Yeah, my voice is trying to come back. It wasn't so much from the excitement from the game, but a cold going in, so it was shaky. But, Carl, that's the kind of game that, as a fan, even as a broadcaster, you don't mind losing your voice with. That was fun.
It was a lot of fun, but boy, I tell you what, Bob, this MetLife Stadium is really starting to feel like home. Like there is the energy in the crowd, and the thing when it's back, it's almost back to where fans are just loving being in the stadium, is when people are complaining that they sat an hour after they got off a 16W just to get in the stadium. That's when because it's been years since people said, man, traffic was so backed up. When I got off a 16W, it took me an hour to get in. So that's a good sign. And when they get in, they were full participants, man. And you credit the players on this team, the culture of what they're doing, this whole coaching staff, because they're giving fans something to cheer for. They've got you in your seats until the end of the game. It's, hey, they're going to hang around. They're going to keep fighting. And, end of the game, you're in the fourth quarter. You don't know if something's going to happen or if it's not, but you're sitting there anticipating.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, the last couple of years, the Giants have basically been out of it by
Halloween.
And, a couple of years ago, 7-9 won the division. So they were actually still alive until Philly tanked that last regular season game. But you're right. We're all creatures of habit. I like to get there early. I'm usually there by 9 a.m. And, I remember back when the team was successful, from when you were playing and I was hosting the old tailgate show, to the early 2000s through 2011, and I'd pull into the parking lot and they'd be up and running. And now the last couple of years I pull in and there's the standard ones. They're the ones that have the little RVs, and they're never going away. But hey, you see people setting up late and everything. It's a whole different vibe, and you can feel it outside the stadium. People are fired up for the game. It's the feeling that you get is that, hey, fans are going to come to the stadium. They're creatures of habit with their tailgate, but they're there for that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're coming for that experience, and they're excited about the Giants playing football.
Yeah, it is. It is such a treat to see the stadium back, and the fan base is like, they were in full throat, Bob. This Baltimore game, they were causing problems for the Baltimore defensive line. They were offsides a couple of times. Their offensive line was offsides a few times. So it's really refreshing to see. But more than anything else, I'm happy that the fans have something to cheer for. I'm happy that this coaching staff and these players are really putting on something that's acceptable to these fans, and it's an effort that they can all be proud of.
I'm looking back at the game the other day. This is the third time now that the Giants have raced a double-digit deficit to win, which matches the most in a season in franchise history. Daniel Jones keeps leading these fourth quarter comebacks, and Carl, they find a way to make a play. They get outplayed during these games at certain points. Like they couldn't control the run, and they obviously made a huge mistake on the Kenyon Drake 30-yard touchdown run. Inexcusable, right? They only had 10 men on the field.
Right.
That can't happen. But it seems as if they find a way to make plays at the important points of the game. And that's exactly what they did the other day. I mean, you get the Love interception, all these things that they need, the drive to get the touchdown, to get within 3. And all of a sudden, what is it? Why are they doing it this way?
Because they know the game is played 60 minutes. And the old saying, which is so true, more games are lost than they are won in the NFL. And so you'll hear the other cliche, let's not beat ourselves. That means teams that have these self-inflicted wounds can sometimes come back to bite them. So what the Giants do, they move on to the next play and they don't compound bad plays. And I used to say all the time to my teammates, let's not let a bad play end up being a bad day or lead to a bad day. You let that play go, and then you just get ready to play the next series. And I think that is where they are right now. That's why they continue to compete. They make the correction. So, I mean, they got hit a couple times with big runs. They had the big touchdown run. But, you look at it and you say, well, they didn't stop the run, but they stopped it when they had to. Lamar Jackson did not impact the game as a lot of people thought he would in terms of his running the football. Like, the 10 or 15-yard scampers are, you're going to get those. You just can't stop him with those. But he didn't have a lot. But he didn't have that one play where he just takes off and he's 60 yards down the field. Did not have the big throw. He had some key throws, but he didn't, scurry around like a mouse and then launch the ball down the field behind the entire defense. So they were prepared. Wink Martindale had his guys ready to go, and it worked out. And then the other part too, people always ask, why don't the Giants start faster? Well, sometimes, in this, again, I speak to the personnel. Sometimes they gotta figure out what works. They don't have the luxury of going into some game saying, well, I got this matchup. We're gonna go right away at this guy, right? They gotta methodically get to it. And until they get those key playmakers on the offensive side of the football, all you got is Saquon Barkley. And then you got a host of receivers. Some are starting to emerge, right? But they don't have the luxury of going into a game and saying, okay, we're going to put Tyreek Hill on this guy, or we're going to put Stephon Diggs on this guy. This is our matchup. When they get in this, we know we got our guy, right? They don't have that yet. So they have to methodically get to it. They build to it. They find out what runs are working, what they can do off of certain looks. And then, by the time the fourth quarter comes around, they're keeping it close. They're keeping it dirty and grimy for the other team, so the other team just doesn't walk all over them. And then they've accumulated enough plays to really put some things together and some different looks to hit some things late in the game.
On the Kayvon Thibodeau sack force fumble, Mark Andrews killed the Giants, right? He had 7 catches for 106 yards. And the Giants didn't play it right a lot of the game. They kept making mistakes on the safeties and the passing them off and who was where. But, and this kind of speaks to this team, which is why they're 5-1. They get it right when they have to get it right. And one of the reasons why, when Jackson drops back to pass, and because the Giants played it right on Andrews there, because he was looking for Andrews there, and they played it smartly there, which forced him, that's where he wanted to go. And it forced him to not be able to go there. And then Thibodeau comes in, knocks the ball out, ball game over.
Yeah, and again, you credit Wink Martindale and his coaching staff, and I'm a fan of what Wink is doing with this team. But the adjustments, you hear Coach Daboll talk about, we make adjustments and we move on to the next play. Well, the adjustment on that play, because I think they had seen enough, a big enough sampling to know that in the clutch, they're going to go to Andrews. They'd been doing it all game. Would Wink Martindale decide to do this time? They gave him a different look. They doubled Andrews. So as he's pulling the ball back to throw it, here comes the safety on the double team, and he had to pull it down. And that's when Kayvon Thibodeau did what he did, the closer.
So let's take our audience, because we do have some pretty cool access as the voices of the team.
Mhm.
But I want to talk about Brian Daboll, because people keep asking me about the team. You know, are they so fired up? They're 5-1. Fans are going crazy. It must be unbelievable in the building. I thought Darius Slayton, during his media avails, when he was asked Monday about, hey, you know, you guys like worried about like you're going to start looking at your record and getting ahead of ourselves? He goes, nah. We're used to not paying attention to our record for the wrong reasons, but he, I thought it was a really cute
That is great.
and fun answer. He goes, we got a lot of practice at not looking at our record because it hasn't been very good for a while. But Daboll, he hasn't changed one bit, you know, as far as how he goes about his stuff, how he's interacting with people.
Mm-hmm.
5-1. He's not walking around with his chest out. He's not suddenly feeling his oats and he's big timing people. He's the same as he was before training camp started. And I'll give a perfect example. We do the Brian Daboll TV show, and we tape that on Mondays over at the facility. And there's a set time that we do it, fits into his schedule with his team meetings and everything else. Their corrections that they're doing. And yesterday we're just sitting in the cafeteria and he comes bouncing in out of nowhere, sits down at the table at 1:20, goes, hey, let's knock this out now. Now, unfortunately, you know, it wasn't possible because it has to get set up. And I think the players anyway were in the field house where we were taping.
Right.
It. So we couldn't get in there to set our equipment because they were doing something, but it wasn't something that, you know, he's got a lot of responsibilities outside of football on Mondays. I mean, he's got the media avails. He's got the TV thing. He's got every head coach has got it. But it just kind of goes to and then he's like, all right, text me if something pops open and we could get it done earlier.
He's he is the same guy that walked in the building on day one as he is now. And I think, you know, you talk about guys that were ready to be head coaches, and we don't know what the future holds from week to week, right? But I can tell you the consistency of Brian Daboll is going to be there. He's, you know, and I think the reason being is he's been a part of national championships. He's been a part of Super Bowls. He's been a part of team building. So he kind of gets, you know, he can act like he's been there before because he has, right? And he's taken a lot of the principles that are conducive to winning and incorporated those into who he is, not trying to be the guy that he worked for, be it Nick Saban or Bill Belichick, right? He's like, I'm Brian Daboll, the kid from upstate, and I'm going to be me, but I learned a lot of things and I incorporate a lot of what I learned from those guys, but he is who he is. And he's got some philosophies that that are really catching on and helping him ingratiate himself with not only the team in front office, but the fans as well.
So, Carl, one of the reasons why this team is 5-1, there's a myriad of reasons, but one of them is red zone efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, the Giants were dead last in red zone offense. Dead last. In fact, I think they were last in red zone chances. They were last in red zone touchdown efficiency. In fact, last season, they had 17 touchdowns in the red zone the entire season. That averages out to 1 a game in a 17-game schedule. This year, right now through the first 6 weeks, they're tied for 14th. They've had 17 trips, which is, you know, I think the most trips by any team is 25. But they've scored 10 touchdowns and 4 field goals. They've gotten stopped on downs. They had the Jones interception in Tennessee. And
so
then
they're 13, pretty much 13 for 17 in the red zone in terms of scoring.
14 of 17. But remember,
Well,
you had the kneel down.
The kneel down.
Right. So that would be 14 of 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and they're scoring touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
They have 10 red zone touchdowns this year. Last year, they had 17 for the entire season. And they're playing pretty good red zone defense. They're 5th in the NFL right now. They've given up 20 trips, but only 8 touchdowns. And they've held teams to 11 field goals. That's kind of really the crux of why this team is 5-1 right now.
Yeah, because the thing is, the long field it favors, both offenses, right? You find out more about yourself in the short field, both on defense and offense, right? So if you can score when you got 20 yards or less, and there's not a lot of field to work with, or in defensively, can you condense and keep them out of the end zone when they don't have the whole field to work with? And they've been able to do a good job on both sides of the football. And I'll tell you something else too, that has really stood out to me is the production at the tight end position, right? Like they have rookie tight end who Coach Daboll said yesterday that it was Tim McDonald and someone else and Ty. Brandon.
Brandon Brown, yeah.
Brandon Brown and Tim McDonald stood on the table and advocated for this rookie tight end. Said that he is exactly what they were looking for, that Daboll needed in his offense. And boy, has he not been just really productive thus far?
He has been. And, the rookies came through. Bellinger's got a couple touchdowns. And you know what it is about Bellinger that's really cool to watch when you put the coach's tape on? He gets nasty in the run game.
Yeah.
He gets nasty with, he's physical. He makes himself available in the passing game, and he's a weapon there. But he's also bringing a physical presence, which is why they're running the ball better, which probably ties into why they're better in the red zone, right?
Yes.
If you can run, coaches have always said this to me. I never played in the league, but if you can run the football, you're going to be good in the red zone, because now it opens up 2 options to get the ball in the end zone, especially if you're in the red zone, at the 18-yard line or something.
And if you got a tight end who can run block, he's going to be a great receiver or a great option as a receiver, because he likes to get nasty running when they run towards him. So that play action pass down there just frees him up as well. So, but you look at this rookie class so far and their contributions. We've only seen, basically one game from Wan'Dale Robinson, but he steps on the field like he's been there as a veteran player. He didn't look lost a single snap during the game. He lined up right. Obviously, he got his first touchdown, caught a couple feet. He dropped one, but his contributions have been great. Like, you look across the board at all the rookies that have been asked to step in and play, which is part of the rebuilding process. Evan Neal continuously getting better and better and better. So they've done a really good job of evaluating and getting the right type of player into the locker room.
And the other interesting thing is, Daboll said it during his press conference on Monday. Doesn't matter if you're a 10-year vet or a rookie, we're going to put you on the field if you earn your chances. And, utilization of players is part of strategy. That was an old Parcells line. And it really is interesting when you look at, who's on the field at the end of the games. Some games it's one guy, another, like that Tamon Fox was on the field near the end of the game. Jihad Ward has been unbelievable. But this coaching staff's got everybody believing and buying in, that everybody's got a role.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you get I think that's also how you get real team camaraderie. Like every player that was dressed and was active Sunday got a snap in the game one way or another.
Yeah, and the thing, if we can go back to the substitutions, because I think it was raised, why wasn't Jihad Ward on the field for that last drive? Well, because they decided to put somebody else on, right? And it happens to be your top pick in the draft, and he's a better pass rusher. But what happens when you get these rotations? People always focus on that particular down or that particular situation, and you ask yourself why, right? If you're looking at the substitution patterns throughout the whole game, you would probably know why that package wasn't on and this package was on. That's just the way they are. And these coaches have a cadence of how they want to do things. I like to believe they have a better feel for the game than somebody either writing about it or sitting back watching it. And they've proven that they have a better feel for it. But the rotations, there's a method to their madness. There's a strategy to it. Maybe the reason they put that particular package in at the game is it gave them more speed. Maybe when Fox is in and Jihad Ward he's a beast against the run too. He's an impact player, but maybe they needed the guys who could get to the quarterback the fastest. But those combinations may change. Like you said, it's part of strategy. You may see Ox in Thibodeau. You may see Fox in Thibodeau. You could see a lot of different combinations. So folks, like don't ask the questions unless you really know what the rotations are. Nobody was in the doghouse. The end result was great, and that's all that matters. So you're questioning a coach on something that was successful.
Yeah, it's probabilities, right? They know what the score is, what the time is in the game, and what the opponent at this point is trying to do, right? At this point in the game, here's what the opponent is trying to do. They're down by 4. Here's how much time's left on the clock. They need a touchdown to beat us. So player A and player B and player C and D, well, which one fits in best with what defense we need to run now as they are going hurry up and throwing to make sure that they don't score? And that's all it is.
Yeah. Or long story short, what combination gives us the best chance to win on this particular down? That's what it all comes down to.
Football season's back. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends as your continued source for all sports wagering. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scoring, giveaways all season long. Always the fastest, easiest way to bet on your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. Receive your rewards. Bet online where the game starts. Hey, Carl, I know fans were a little surprised. They were excited when the Giants signed Landon Collins to the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people thought, oh, maybe he'll play in London, return from where he had the great game in 2016. And, he hasn't been playing. And then, maybe this week you thought maybe he would be brought up as an elevation from the practice squad. He wasn't. I still think, they're trying to figure out what his best skill set is. And I still think that there's going to be a nice role for him in here somehow, just based on his athleticism.
Yeah, well, there's 2 things that Landon Collins has going for him. 3, right? He's athletic, he's a good tackler, and he's a smart football player. I think when we start to really look at this Giant defense and where they could use to help, it's in help on row 2. That's the linebacker level, right?
On the
guys
inside,
up front,
on the inside.
Inside, right. There's one row, which is the outside guys and the defensive linemen. Row 2 is the linebackers. and then behind them is row 3. So row 2 is where I see a role for him, because he can tackle, smart player, athletic. There is a weakness at inside linebacker for the Giants. Just simply put, it is what it is. Can they improve? Yeah, they need to upgrade, but they're doing a good job with what they have and the guys that are in there. But I'd like to see him in that role. So he's kind of the hybrid linebacker, extra safety, if you will.
All right. I got one thing I want to we're going to do another podcast later in the week
Yeah.
to preview the game. Were you surprised that Jacksonville has opened up as a favorite in this game?
No, I think, the odds makers, they favor offense. They favor, Jacksonville is looking good on offense. Their quarterback is looking good. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, we'll get into it a little bit later. There's metrics in all this too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
New York has a lot of money. New York fans tend to wager a lot. And what
Wait
they've
a
done.
minute. Are you saying that gambling factors into sports, football? Oh, they're trying to bait them into it?
Jay, listen, Jacksonville is a lot better than their 2-4 record. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they
I've
got
watched
talent.
them a lot.
They have
anyway,
talent.
we'll do a pre. Got anything else to get off your
chest?
chest?
I got one more thing.
You got any more London gear?
I do have some London gear. For those who are looking, we are back up on starter.com. I think either tomorrow or Thursday. We restocked. We have a few pieces left, so we restocked that. So we're good. But if you need some, Bobby, I got you.
I just love that T-shirt.
Well, we got you. Did you get one?
No, I didn't get one.
Oh, well, you consider it done. My one last thing for this one, and tell a friend to tell a friend that I said it. Darius Slayton his confidence is growing, and I think Daniel Jones is starting to get a connection with him. The more he catches that football, the better this offense becomes, and I like it. I'm bullish on him. He's back to a space where he's only going to get better, folks. So keep an eye on him.
It's interesting you mention that, because for a guy that only had one catch in the game for 18 yards, had a big impact because he drew the pass interference in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting open. He's getting open, and he's, knock on wood, or this is plastic or whatever it is, he catches the ball. But he's a good kid, and it's fun. All right, so you're right. Tell a friend, tell a friend. I like when you end it, though. Go ahead.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. We're back up, and we'll see you again later on this week.
Believe in Giants.